Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about a rather disgusting story. Just a quick thing before I get into it. My neighbors do this thing of when their kid is being fussy or really loud of taking the kid outside, hence putting it like right in front of the window here. And so if you hear screaming, whatever gurgling noises babies make, I don't actually know how old the kid is, but anyway, that's what it is, and I can't control it. Florida man who raped baby daughter posted footage to web gets 70 years.
I want to die.
Former paramedic from Florida was sentenced to 70 years in prison for recording a series of heinous videos of himself raping his 1-year-old daughter and posting them to the dark web. Okay, so obviously the people who do these things are not mentally okay. But I genuinely wonder what the thought process is here from a criminal's point of view. The idea of being a criminal is to not be caught, right? And so the fact that someone would upload it onto the internet, even if it's the dark web, what he did is obviously egregious. I just wonder how he thought he was going to get away with this, or maybe he didn't want to get away with it. I don't know. I just always find myself mystified when people commit disgusting crimes and upload them. Like, I'm sure he tried to make money or did make money off of his upload, but I just don't know how what he thought was gonna happen. And I'm glad he was a moron because we caught him now, but nonetheless. James Lockhart, 31, made the sickening 4-video series of the sexual abuse between March 2016 and February 2018 and uploaded the clips on the dark web forums using the names Strangewood and Hardwood, according to court records. Lockhart, who worked at Paramedics Logistics Florida from 2012 to October 2018, pleaded guilty to charges of producing, distributing, and possessing child pornography in March. He was sentenced on Thursday, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Florida announced. So this article came out in the middle of July, so I am relatively late, but he was sentenced fairly recently. Also, the screen names he used, Strangewood, Hardwood, really. I just don't know how you can see your own baby daughter who's only 1 and have that kind of thought. Now, of course, this person is not the first weirdo or pedophile we've encountered on this channel, but it genuinely mystifies me every time when I see such a young child. Like, this child was born a year ago and already you're just, of course, no matter what age, it's still disgusting, it's still abusive and just overall egregious, but I get somewhat more shocked when they're this young. In addition to what he posted online, investigators found more videos and photos showing the baby being sexually abused in Lockhart's possession, authorities said. Lockhart's wife and the mother of his 2 children, a boy and a girl, identified the baby in the video as their daughter. She also ID'd the man's hand in the video as her husband's, according to Newsweek. So since the Newsweek article was brought up, I decided to go check that out. Now, I know that so far this has been grim and pretty graphic, but it gets significantly worse, so this is me warning you right now. So according to Newsweek, it says that as part of the plea agreement, Lockhart, 31, pleaded guilty to producing, distributing, and possessing child pornography on Thursday, which we already knew. But what it also adds is that he faces up to 70 years in prison and a fine of more than $750,000, according to the agreement. The story only gets grimmer when we find out that Lockhart also posted messages on the forum asking if anyone had any requests for pictures and videos. Now, this is something I didn't necessarily expect, mainly because I didn't know that all of this shit worked that way, but the idea that he was just letting a bunch of randos on the internet dictate what he would do to his daughter and the other victim, that makes me want to vomit. Then it goes on to say that the images showed Lockhart sexually abusing the female victim, whose face was partially blurred, but still indicated she was under duress, according to the DOJ. So, needless to say, that's disgusting, but there's an extra layer of just dismay I feel towards this man, considering that there is this extra detail of the child's face, you know, expressing pain. Of course, it was predictable, but the idea that that's also visible, it just adds a layer of disgust for me, which is saying a lot since I already feel the maximum disgust towards humans like this. Lockhart's arrest came from an investigation codenamed Operation Test Pilot, during which Homeland Security Investigations agents attempted to infiltrate high-level child pornography rings and websites, a criminal complaint said. The international investigation led officers to discover the user Strangewood posting extremely graphic and violent images and the videos on the forums. The sick Bradenton, Florida man also bragged about sexually abusing another 1-year-old child, authorities said. First of all, I am so sorry to the wife for having to go through that. Of course, the child, that goes without saying, but for the wife to have to identify that, like identify her daughter and her husband's hands in a picture or in a video, in a still, whatever the case may be, that, just the sole idea of that is so nauseating, because you commit your life to someone and then they turn around and do that to, you know, children, which in the end, when you're married and happy together, are a symbol of your relationship. So I'm glad he's being locked up for 70 years. I'm just going to say that. On his devices, investigators also found a collection of child pornography that included 4,000 images and 43 videos. The collection included infants being abused and sadomasochistic and violent conduct. So this guy isn't gonna get out alive. Hopefully they're not gonna do the bullshit of giving such a fucking deranged individual parole. But the sole concept of 4,000 images and 43 videos just sitting on his computer, it just makes me kind of wonder about what else he might have hiding. Although it's kind of clear that he's not that great at hiding things because he's a moron, amongst other things. But that's the thing with cases like this, is I just wonder how much we haven't discovered versus what, you know, we have. And that's what's most troubling, because it doesn't feel like the case is really shut. Now, of course, maybe this is all there is, and I hope they found everything and this is effectively all there is. But the darker side of my brain thinks, well, what if there's more? Also, needless to say, the sadomasochistic and violent conduct. This deviant committed the most horrible atrocities imaginable to a 1-year-old child, said Homeland Security Investigations Tampa Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Michael B. Cochran. So, as of right now, that's all I've really been able to find. A lot of the articles seem like a copy and paste from each other, just sharing a lot of the same words and effectively the same information. So it is still fairly recent, so I'm wondering if there's going to be more discovery coming up soon. And another quick thing I wanted to mention here, because I mentioned this on Twitter, and I just kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion, because I was talking to my aunt about another case that I filmed about days ago that's already been posted. She's a lawyer and judge, and she was saying that, in her opinion, I should not be sharing these news. And she didn't say it in a rude way or anything. It was just like a conversation. Simply because she thinks people have this morbid enjoyment of this kind of content. And I obviously disagreed with her, because in my opinion, at least the way I view this content is, if someone in my family were a victim of something, the last thing I'd want is for no one to talk about it. The last thing I'd want is for it to go completely under the radar, for the criminal to not get some kind of justice. It's already something. Of course, ideally you want them to go to prison or pay for whatever crime they've committed. But in my opinion, it's important to say it, because I don't want to be that person being like, the media is lying to you. But there's so many cases that happen, and the media can't catch everything. At least not a media that a lot of people have access to. And of course, I'm not saying I'm as important as a TV channel, but if there's a case that I haven't heard of at all, or a case that needs more attention, for me it's important to say it. Not because I enjoy being like, oh hell yeah, someone died or someone was violently attacked or whatever the case may be. But rather, I think it's important to see these things, to be aware of these things, just to keep our eyes open to what's going on around us. And to me, that's different than like reveling in something. You know, of course, there are always going to be weirdos who have like too much enjoyment for certain topics, but I think it's important. But I wanted to ask you guys, because I've literally never had anyone tell me that I shouldn't talk about the topics I talk about. So I was caught a little bit off guard, I have to say. On Twitter, a lot of people were saying that it was also a case of how you present the information, you know, like whether it's respectful and so on and so forth. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right